Keshav Bhajanka joins us now, Executive Director with Century Plyboards. Let's talk markets. And before that, I want to talk about the ad, which has a tip that Century is the best tip. Century Plywood is the best tip. It was quite an ad. Actually I had Pratik for one of our shows and I asked him, how does it feel? Plus, Century is the right tip, all I can say. How did you strike on that idea? Quite innovative, actually.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. I think that we're always looking to do something a little different, and this just felt correct. It felt like something that went very well with the brand philosophy, because whenever we speak to you, you say think about the long term. That's what Century Ply makes you do as well.
You're moving into now designer plyboards, right? I thought it was always a very sensitive market, and now you've got a designer range there.
So it's not really a designer plywood; it's a designer laminate. But again, the objective was to do something a little different. And you'd be very happy to know we're not the first in India, we're the first in the world to come up with a branded designer laminate. So I think, the objective has always been not just to do well, but to try and elevate the category. And I think this is our first step towards doing that with Century Laminates by Manish Malhotra.
I'm sure that designer collab comes with a hefty price tag as well, Keshav. Are you seeing premiumization even when it comes to veneers? Because that's the trend pretty much across the board.
Yes, whether you look at laminates, whether you look at veneers, there is a trend towards premiumization. And, I think people are becoming more expressive with their homes, especially post-COVID. And it will definitely lead to premiumization in decorative products going forward.
Okay. When we spoke to you last, you were sounding not very excited about the demand trends, but that's a conversation which happened, let's say, 3.5 weeks ago. Post that, now that festival season is nearing, from cautious, have you become excited, or are you still cautiously optimistic?
I would say I'm cautious in the short term, and I'm very, very optimistic in the medium and long term. You see, the scenario on ground, I wouldn't say has improved too much, but I think we have been able to do far better than the market has been. And going forward, this whenever you speak to the channel, when you speak to customers, when you speak to architects, this seems to be a function of the interest rate hikes. I think that once that is established, because now there are no further hikes, and considering the quantum of real estate sales that are taking place, it's a question of when rather than if. And I think that when is going to be sooner rather than later.
You've already invested about 7.6 billion rupees, right, in the last 2 years. Tell me what kind of capex outlay that you have for the next 2 to 3 years.
So I think we have a substantial capex outlay. If you look at it, we are coming up with the largest plant in Andhra Pradesh at a total capex of 900 crores plus, 700 crores towards MDF, and 200 crores plus towards laminates. We're also coming up with a particle board plant in Chennai with a capex of 500 crores plus, and a new plywood unit in Hoshiarpur with 100 crore plus. So I think we're expanding across every single segment we are present in, and this is just a start.
Just a coincidence, we had the management of Kajaria Ceramics on the channel yesterday, and he was sounding very confident about the tiling demand, and his logic was that the real estate built up now will translate into real demand for tiling. I would imagine the same cycle should also be at play for you, which is that last 2 years we've seen a surge in bookings. Now the delivery from the builder has started, and when you buy a house, you tile it up, and then you put a furniture on it, then you start building your wardrobes, then you start taking care of other things where wood is required. How come you're not feeling the advantage of that cycle? Because the Kajaria management was very clear that the cycle is now very favorable.
I think, it could be a difference in the timing of purchase for the customer. If you look at tiles, if you look at sanitary, if you look at other products, they are normally much earlier than a plywood. A plywood or a laminate would be a little later when, a customer makes a house into a home. At that point in time, demand for products comes. But when a building is being finished, at that point, the demand for tiles or the demand for faucets, sanitary ware, etc., is strong. So I think it is about timing. Maybe our demand would come 2 to 3 months later, but that is the delta or the difference that could take place. Otherwise, like I told you, in the medium term, we're fairly confident.
How would you map the competitive landscape for us? There was a huge advantage which you got because the unorganized market became organized market. That added to your numbers. But now if you do some channel checks, the unorganized guys are also getting efficient. They're managing their cost well. So they're coming together as small groups. So that huge tailwind of unorganized becoming organized, is that tailwind still on, or the speed of the tailwind has got diluted?
No, I think it is highly positive for the industry with the unorganized trying to become more organized. Whether they're successful or not is a different question. And at the same time, you see, today we're the most efficient manufacturers, we're the highest price sellers. So if you look at it, we have economies of scale, we have every single advantage. The advantage that the unorganized had was poorer quality and tax advantage. So now that that is getting corrected, we are very, very bullish that the roadmap for us becomes even stronger.
What is next for Century Plyboards? Designers have already come in. Value chain change has already happened. Capex had kicked in. What is next? Next 3 years, what is the big announcement I should expect from you?
We're going to do more of the same. And we are always working on giving our customers products that they haven't been able to experience till date. So you can expect some more announcements on the product side. And we are fairly confident that we'll be able to deliver greater value for customers.
We wrap one question purely for next 2 quarters. Do you think the second half will be better or significantly better than first half?
From our previous conversations, I'm an optimist, but definitely the second half is likely to be far better.
Because of the seasonality, so if I have a follow-up question, that how do you think the second half of this year will be comparable to the second half of last year? See, second half will be better than first half. That's the seasonality of the business. So let me rephrase my question so that I get the right message for our viewers and for your shareholders. How do you think the second half of this year will be different from the second half of last year?
Okay, so you see, last year, the first half, we had a huge advantage from delayed demand. If you look at last year, then Q4 of last year was hit because of Omicron and because of COVID still being prevalent. So last year, the advantage of the spike we got in H1 that hasn't been felt this year. There was no delayed demand. There was no additional demand caused by previous lack or deficit. This year, H2 compared to H2, last year H2 was a COVID-free time period. And this year, hopefully, again, it will be a COVID-free time period. And we're expecting very strong growth compared to last year H2.
Keshav, great to have you today on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thank you.